So, thank you for your patience. The Sims re-released The Sims 1 and 2. Not remastered though, because my game keeps crashing. And my body clearly was just so excited over it that it actually broke down. I was in hospital for a month with my gallbladder from the last video. I had surgery, but I had internal bleeding and pancreatitis. I was really poorly. Anyway, I had an operation. This is scars from the hot water bottle from that video. I'm fine now. In that time, I had many ideas. 1 month in the hospital bed will send you a little bit too lally. I was like a scribe. I was writing and writing and writing, apart from I wasn't writing because I didn't have the energy to write. So I was just writing in my mind and I was like, Harmy and Naguchnar. There is a culture of The Sims, and obviously there is the Sims culture as that we know of as players. But what is the actual culture like for the Sims who live there? What is SimNation? What do they believe in? Who are they? Where did you find her? So that is what we're going to be covering today, the culture of The Sims. But before we jump into that, here is a word from our sponsor, Midas Merge, and also you can look at my hair as I turn around.
This section of the video is sponsored by Midas Merge. This is something that I actually play, and it's a really calming game where you hatch and grow all of these mythical creatures. Case in point, the Cappy Bird suddenly turns into something way more majestic than you'd think. And there's more than just merging stuff. There is a whole subplot. You're working with King Midas and Queen Leah, trying to bring these overgrown gardens back to life because everything's been taken over thanks to Nyx, the goddess of night, which, to be fair to her, she's just doing what her name intended her to do, okay? But she has taken over the garden. So you've got to merge Sunburst to clear it away and restore everything. And it's really satisfying watching all of your work come together and a new section opening up. And it's all at your own pace too. There's no ads, there's no timers, and you can play when you like, even without Wi-Fi. It's made by the same people as The Sims 3 and The Sims 4, but you will know that as soon as you load in because the loading messages are quintessentially that. The creatures are adorable, the music's relaxing, and it's just a dead cozy game. If you fancy trying it, you can either use my link or you can scan the QR code on screen, and you'll even get a little level 2 U-turtle with my name on it. It'll help you get things going a little bit quicker, and to be honest, it's quite cute. So yeah, if you like discovering new creatures, restoring a world bit by bit, and having something peaceful to dip into, I really recommend Midas Merge. And let me know which creature's your favourite. I tend to have a soft spot for anything that is even remotely cursed looking. Thank you to Midas Merge for sponsoring that section of the video.
So I actually did do the honour, and I will put it on screen right now. I did do the honour of actually making an entire map, a custom map of every world, compiling it into one thing, as you'll see. And I even bought a projector because I thought, you know what would be really good if they could see that on the screen. And it turns out that just... you can either see the whiteboard or you can see me when I've got a projector. And as it stands, I'm already struggling with this bit. So I decided I did just want to leave these hanging, you know, and I didn't want to just have a picture on the screen for you, even though that would have been okay for me to do. I thought, babe, why not just draw it on the whiteboard, you know? So my artistic imagination leaves a lot. I mean, they're so perfect, you think that was AI, but that is not. I did draw that tree. I did draw that tree. A couple of things I forgot. Sorry, I forgot to draw a new crest on its own little island because there's nothing there. And I also forgot to put Appaloosa Plains. God, I really put the loser in Appaloosa. So this is where we are. All the Sims games take place in that some people think it's country, some people think it's continent. It's actually just me that thinks it's continent, but there's so many different places in it that for me it's a continent. Of SimNation, it does go by many other names. There is, you know, that's not the only name of it. But to just make things easier, SimNation. Also been called Simerica, but I prefer SimNation. So if you play The Sims 4, you will recognise places like Ravenwood, Forgotten Hollow, but I've also included all of the ones from the other games as well. So all around this area, this is what I'm going to call Central SimNation. So we've got the capital, SimCity. This is where the SimCity games take place. It's also on the outskirts of that, where the events of Neighbourhood 1 happen in The Sims 1. And 25 years on into the future, Neighbourhood 1 rebranded and thought, well, there's more than one neighbourhood now, and became Pleasant View. Kind of like how the Great War had to rebrand itself as World War I when World War II came about. Neighbourhood 1 had to rebrand itself as Pleasant View. Old Town, as we know, is like right next to Neighbourhood 1, so it's there. Sunset Valley. Sunset Valley was a bit of a difficult one because some people think that Sunset Valley is also Neighbourhood 1 Pleasant View, but in the past. Some people think it's a separate entity altogether. Me, who am I to judge? You know what? Hell yeah. Magic Town is there. Neighbourhood 2, bit of a wild one. Honestly, didn't know. And then Willow Creek is kind of... she confused me a little bit. Bridgeport and San Myshuno for me are like the main city areas, so they're connected with a bridge, Bridgeport. In the centre, we have where things start to get a little bit creepy, a little bit freaky, where you can't trust a telescope at night. Oasis Springs, you might not think that that's creepy, but the land grabs are there. So hold your horses, babe. If they can disown their own son, what can they do to you? Lucky Palms. $1 make me holler. I've got nothing bad to say about it. And then we've got Chestnut Ridge, the location of Roberto Crinkletop, who ruined my wife's heart. Agnes Grumblebottom, we will fight them on the beaches. I don't know why there's so many Grumblebottom references. Strangetown, obviously the heart of the Sims franchise, in my opinion. We've got Strangetown, and then we've got its cousin from the dad's side, Strangerville, which is, she wants to be Strangetown so bad, but she's literally not. Over here is like the European style worlds, Dragon Valley. I didn't know whether to put this one on or not, but you know, maybe it's just a Renaissance fair and everyone's really into it, so I decided to put it in. And then Nordhaven, Windenburg, Veronaville. I even put a little river through Veronaville because I thought, oh, do you know what? It does have one. It does have one. In Fair Verona, where we lay our scene. Up here is like the rural areas. You got Hidden Springs, where people are trying to run away. Glimmerbrook, it leads to an alternate dimension. Ravenwood, people are freaky up in there. Midnight Hollow, even freakier. Forgotten Hollow, Moonlight Falls. Up here was Mount Comarebi, and this is a mountain. Thank you, I know, my artwork is really good. And this is like the snowy area. And then at the bottom here, we've got Tartossa, Barnacle Bay, Sunlit Tides, Solani, and then the bane of my existence and the object of all my desires is La Paradiso. Sims 3 is beautiful to me. She's absolutely amazing. I've never loved and lost like I have in that game. It's La Paradiso, babe. I even have a video about this. She still doesn't work for me. Interestingly as well with this, we can kind of see families move around because we know that the Goths originally reside here. And obviously Bella Goth takes an unplanned detour over to here, as we know. Or did she? But she did. Just between me and you. And the entire world if you load up The Sims 2. But we know that the Goths were originally from Old Town, so they moved over to Neighbourhood 1. And then for the Landgrabs, we know that the Landgrabs lived in Sunset Valley, and we also know that they lived in Blue Water Village because you've got the ruthless, cunning, fabulously wealthy Malcolm Landgrab. So they, at some point, sorry, I've done this a really roundabout way, moved to Oasis Springs? For why? For why? And then somehow, this one kind of makes sense, right? Because you've got Olive Spectre. She lived in Midnight Hollow. That's the earliest that we've seen her. And then she moved to Ravenwood, which isn't that far of a stretch. She kind of likes the forest, the darkness, you know, that type of vibe. And then she decides to take an entire trip all the way down to Strangetown. I mean, to be fair, she probably saw the name and thought, oh, don't mind if I do. I think I'll fit it right in, actually. There is someone who technically is in charge of your Sims. Miss Katarina Vanderberg. She's the leader of the free world, which is her job title, that is her job description. Her husband is also leader of the free world, but she is part of the monarchy, which is making me think, where is that separation of church and monarchy? You know what I mean? And what makes it worse, Katarina, I love it, like girl boss and everything, but she doesn't even have the skill points that are necessary for a career. So, babe, there's only one way that you've got to get, and it's being a Nepo baby. And even worse, she's passing the Nepo babiness on to her kids too, but they're kind of hiding away from her in Hidden Springs. So, God bless you. What a term in America is what, 4 years? What's the term in SimNation? Her entire life? That was just a glimpse of the world before we get down in the nitty gritty, what actually happens in the worlds, in the lives of SimNation. And it's making me really sad because I'm going to have to rub out this map. And I really don't want to, but for you, babe, I will. No, like, it's fine. Like, literally, I will. Don't worry. Look, I even drew a little ship and everything. Slipping through my fingers all the time. Hello, babe, I'm so sorry. Oh, sometimes I wish that I could freeze the picture. Welcome to Life in SimNation. Now, usually I would do this chronologically based on the timeline, but I'm going to do it in order of release just because it makes more sense. When we're speaking about lore, it makes more sense to do it chronologically, but in SimNation, not all ages are equal. In fact, they didn't even have all of them. If you lived in SimNation at the time where Old Town Neighbourhood 1 was popping, you either were an adult, a baby, or a child. And if you were a child, do not think that you would ever get here. That is false advertisement. There are 3 wolves inside of you, and the only thing that lets you change is being a baby. After a couple of days, you will turn into a child. But genetics also didn't play a big role in the earlier games, so whose head you had could be anyone's business, you know. You could have two Sims, both with black hair, and your baby turn out ginger, and you just have to accept that. Obviously, that's very different to our culture, where that would certainly turn a few heads, raise a few eyebrows and all that. Have you ever heard the phrase that hours are long but the years are short? Well, that is very, very true of SimNation, because the years are so short that they actually don't have them. They don't have weeks, they don't actually have days of the week. The only thing that they have is each hour. They literally live each hour like it's their last. They work every single day, no days off. Nothing of the sort. You're a baby who's born into this world through endless kisses, which is definitely how babies are made. Don't fact check that, just take my word for it. And then the baby grows into a child, and the child never grows into an adult. Never. Peter Pan. Peter Pan was actually from Old Town. He texted me yesterday and said, yeah, that's where I'm from, just in case you need it for your video. And I said, oh, thanks, Pete. But you could actually turn kids into adults. I know that you might be thinking, but you've just said that you can't. But baby, what? This is a Sims 1, okay? Turning a child into an adult through a birthday? No. You've got to throw common sense out the window when it comes to The Sims 1. Turning a child into an adult with a magic spell that you've learned and you've garnered the ingredients from a hole in the ground. Yes, that is how you get a child into an adult in The Sims 4. And also, babies are objects, but that is a really detailed bassinet. Sims 4 can't say the same. And then we get to The Sims 2, and let me tell you, when they released this image, when my 8-year-old eyes caught sight of this image, my world was changed. I'd never even considered Sims growing up before. That's just the way it was. You just made who you were and you're happy with it. And then I saw this and I was like, wow, that is the future. Has technology gone too far? My mind was blown. You know, like where if a boomer sees an AI generated image on Facebook and they're like, I can't believe that they've managed to breed these two animals together. That is how I felt about this. Suddenly I get it. My world was opened. You're telling me they could progress through those ages? I mean, that is a bit of a lie. This is a bit of false marketing because there is not the 3 stages of being an adult. And we also don't get that hair. So this made a little bit of false advertising, but this could have been better. And apparently the office is burnt down. So do you know what? They had to rebuild and they look a little bit different. I'm gonna let you off. I'm gonna let it slide. As if I've got any business with that anyway. But just know, if you were in that fire, Plumbella forgives you and it's not your fault. That is basically how that came across, and I didn't mean it to. It doesn't show it here, but babies, they are released from the crib. They've been given rights in The Sims 2. So babies, tick. Toddlers, tick. Are they annoying? Yes. Do they drink from the toilet? Yes. Oh, but how blessed I am to be able to cancel that action. How lucky I felt. Children, yes, but we already had children, and they were basically, you know how you research it in history, children are considered mini adults. It's kind of how they were in The Sims 1. They could live alone. If a parent died, there was no social services coming to get them. In The Sims 1, that is. Social services came for babies, but not children. And then teenager? I'd never even considered that you could ever even make a teen. When they invented teenagers in SimNation, I was exceptionally grateful. And then it looks like there's 3 stages of adults right there. There is not. There is later in the game with university, but that's by the by, because this is pre-university eras. And then we've got adult, elder, which boggled my mind. And to be honest, very annoying to play with, very loose bladder, needs to sleep a lot. Realistic, yes. Annoying, unfortunately so. Oh, and then the dead, obviously. Much like in The Sims 1, you can use a spell to turn a child into adult. In The Sims 2, you can discover the elixir of life and de-age yourself. Now, I am just going to say, warning, because look at Bella Goth. Okay? Her husband discovered the elixir of life and now she's on a milk carton. Do you want to be there? No. Just be happy with what you get. Aging is a privilege. And then in The Sims 3, my mind was boggled even more, because one thing about me, I'm a short lifespanner. Babe, I am here for a good time, not for a long time. So when The Sims 3 came out and SimNation gave you the ability to customise how long you age for, that was absolutely perfect for me, because I could have the babies and the toddlers on 2 days, form a brief bond with them, really enjoy the child and teenagehood, spend some time with them as a young adult. Elder, toodles. Toodaloo. And not only this, but the world ages with you. Your enemies don't outlive you anymore. You just all die together. That's beautiful. In The Sims 2, you could select a couple of friends to grow up with you if you had the free time pack, but the rest of the neighbourhood stayed pretty still. You could also turn aging off as well, which was, I mean, screw the elixir of life. Why would you want the elixir of life when you could just turn your aging off? I know where we are today. I don't know that things have changed, okay? But there's fundamental aspects of things that you can't ignore. And you might be saying to me, remember the good times. Yes, I've had plenty. Sorry, let me just remove babies from that, because we went back to them not having rights. And also, at the time of The Sims 4 release, let's also get rid of toddlers. We already know this, we've been through it, but I will still scream it from the rooftops. We did also get young adult as well, but I'm telling you, that mother right there is not my baby. Could it be my baby? I don't know, because they all look alike, and not in the way that newborn babies do, which is a little bit potato-y. As a lover of babies, honestly, I just love kids. I just love it like that. Did babies ever get released? No. Toddlers did get introduced to the game. And to be fair, should we have had to wait for them? No, I don't think. I think that the game should have been a full game on release, and I will die. I will take that to my grave. Actually, that means like keeping a secret. I will put that on my grave. Sims 4 should have released with pools and ghosts and toddlers. But they did reintroduce toddlers, and to be fair to them, they were actually really good. They are so annoying, which I find is incredibly realistic. So GG to them on that, do you know what I mean? And instead of releasing babies from their cribs, they instead gave us these little things. Shabba-dabba-da. I didn't actually mean to put that next to the warning sign, but you know what? It's fitting. These are infants. Infants now exist in SimNation. In just a short lifespan, SimNation has managed to gain so many more life stages. Congrats to them. Progress, progress, progress. Welcome in to Sims of SimNation. I wish I could use this to point, but unfortunately, when I tried to record this yesterday, it broke, so I can't reach over. But welcome. These are the Sims that live in SimNation, because one of the most fabulous things about The Sims is that it's not just Sims. Default life state is just a regular Sim. This is probably who you will walk past in SimNation, but you can never be too sure. And just because they're regular Sims, it does not mean that they don't have needs. They will scream at you if they're hungry. They really don't like being hungry. I mean, they do say we are 3 meals away from anarchy. You need to keep on top of these, like yourself, even. Hunger, social. I use Liza Pancakes because she is the most regular looking Sim. Then we've got aliens. Aliens show up in every single Sims game. And if you're thinking, I don't recall aliens showing up in The Sims 1. Wrong. Aliens may not have actually showed up in The Sims 1 canonically in the way that you're expecting, but there was telescopes. There was also a bit of promo for The Sims 1 in a magazine where there was an alien in a cornfield, so it's been a long time coming, but Alien is a subgroup of Sims in SimNation, but within that subgroup, there are subgroups of the subgroup. So there are not all the same aliens in SimNation. Your classic alien is The Sims 2 alien. This is the green skin and big eyes, as seen by none other than Pollination Technician number 7 or 9. I always forget which specific number it is. But this one here, he's your stereotypical alien. And they have an entire hierarchy. There are birth queens, colony drones, and pollination technicians. I was explaining this to my uncle and he said, oh, like bees. And I thought, oh my God, yeah. That is the relevance of that. So the pollinators, instead of pollinating plants, they want to pollinate regular Sims, and they're really good at their job as well. They get the job done. So that's where we're at in The Sims 2, which is the first time as a player you will see the aliens. But The Sims 3 takes place in the past, canonically proven fact. And in The Sims 3, aliens have powers. And their powers can be used for good, like they can fix your sink, pull a GTA and obey traffic laws and all that, but they can also summon meteors if they don't like you. They also plot about town in the alien spaceship, which, I mean, to be fair, if I had an unidentified flying object, I would use that 100%. From then we get to The Sims 2, they have no powers. There is no difference between a regular Sim and an alien Sim in The Sims 2, apart from the skin colour and the eyes, obviously. Which begs the question, in SimNation, at some point, were alien powers restricted, or is it just a different genre of alien? Maybe the aliens that moved on Earth, rather than just landed on Earth for a couple of hours and said goodbye, was this type of alien without any powers. To be fair, if I was an intergalactic alien, like obviously I'm not, but that is also something I'd say if I was. But if I was an intergalactic alien and I had the choice of living with other aliens that had powers that could be used against me, or living with regular Sims who have no powers, and but then honestly I don't know. Maybe that's why we don't have a 50-50 mix, because Pollination Technician, oh, he had a hard life. A hard life he lived. Anyway, we get to The Sims 4 with The Sims 4 get to work, and they have blue, purple, green, ally. But what is interesting about these is, whereas with these, kind of what you see is what you get. You can kind of tell eyes are a dead giveaway, ears are a dead giveaway. And in The Sims 4, you might be thinking, well, I'm sorry, that outfit does not look like the outfits that you would see walking across the streets of SimNation. And for that, astute observation, may I say. But you might not recognise these because they have the power to disguise themselves. So is that another form of alien in SimNation? An alien could be a neighbour. It could be a partner. Then vampires. Oh, so hot, it hurts. I just love the vampires. I've loved all vampires. I read a vampire story on the Sims 2 exchange and it changed my life forever. There is nothing as hot and as sexy as the Sims 2 vampires. They had a full Victorian cosplay. And they literally, that is not just a screen grab from a random scene. No, they will walk through the streets of downtown going, like they're not really blending in. If you've ever seen The Little Vampire, which has that guy from Stuart Little in it, the vampires are dramatic, check. Gothic, check. Also Victorian, check. Victorian Gothic, double check. Sexy. Dun, 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 dun. Triple check. And also dramatic. And I love that in the crown is a plum bob. Isn't that just so cute? Boop. And they have a hierarchy as well. They have grand vampires. Not just your regular schmegular vampires, your grand vampires. And then in The Sims 3, they're a bit of a wild ride because they are still extremely sexy, obviously, as you can see, Exhibit A. But whereas these, you had to get bitten by a vampire in order to become one, in The Sims 3, you can make one straight from Create a Sim. They've got plenty of options. There's also two versions of them, the ones that came with Late Night and the ones that came with Supernatural, and they're kind of merged into one. So kind of like how at one point there is a common ancestor that we all have that merged with something else. I don't really know that much about evolution or anything like that, but that's probably what happened to them and all. But hey, that's just my theory. And then in The Sims 4, as we all know, the three vampires of The Sims 4, there's also Miss Hell, and she is sexy. In The Sims 4, you've got a vampire form and a regular form. Again, they are amongst us. And they also have a hierarchy as well. The hierarchy is back in this version. He's the top of the hierarchy, as you can tell, just from that pose. But also, right, listen, who am I to judge? Who am I to judge at the end of the day? I don't have powers. And I don't have the need to drink blood. Thank God, you know. I'm not telling him how to do his job. But if I was a vampire of his prestige and I needed to drink blood from the hours of, like, say, 12 and 2 a.m, I would not knock on your door and let you know that I was there. I would try and bamboozle you in some way, shape or form. Otherwise, it was going to give me a neck. I mean, yes, I could possess you, but that would take away some of my vampiric energy. And who's got time for that? What if you're hungry? Anyway, that's vampires in The Sims 4. Magic in SimNation it's got somewhat of a complicated history because when we're in The Sims 1, you literally get a knock on your door, Mr. Magic Man comes, puts a hole in your floor, and where does that take you? Magic Town. They encourage it, but you're not allowed to cast spells outside of your house. Mystery Man will come and tell you off, give you a fine. But then 25 years in the future, in The Sims 2, magic can be cast anywhere. And it's actually progressed that much that there's good witches and bad witches. And then if we take a blast however many years in the past, it's legal. So it goes from legal to partially legal to fully legal again. I mean, realistically, obviously, we know this is probably because of technology constraints at the time, but it's fun to imagine that it's something different. So in The Sims 1, magic is literally magic for all. It doesn't matter if you've got magic in your blood or not. Every sim in SimNation has the ability to be able to cast magic. You have to work for it in The Sims 2. In The Sims 3, you can just become one straight and create Sims. Sims 3 is like, baby, who you want to be. Live the life you love. In terms of the look, the Sims 1, it's like you look how you look, babe. But in The Sims 2, depending on how many spells you cast, if you're casting good spells, you'll start to literally glow. And if you start casting bad spells, babe, you are literally turning green. Alphabet. In The Sims 1, The Sims 3 and The Sims 4, you don't have a different form. Unlike the Sims 4 counterparts of aliens and vampires, the Sims 4 spellclass is just, babe, you get what you're getting, that's just me. The alignment system that was in The Sims 2 is kind of axed in The Sims 3 and then it comes back in The Sims 4-ish. You can cast spells from different schools, like practical magic. In terms of alignment, as we see in The Sims 2, depending on how many good spells you cast, you literally start glowing like Edward Cullen, babe. If you cast bad spells, get your broom, you've pulled. Sims 3 didn't really have an alignment as sorts, neither did The Sims 1, but The Sims 4 kind of goes back to an alignment system again, but less rigid than that. It's not so much about what spells you cast, but you can cast spells from different schools, like practical spells, mischief spells, and untamed spells. Like vampire energy, your energy can drain, and if you drain enough of your spellcaster energy, you'll be haunted by the Night Wraith, and he is a very scary guy. He literally follows you, and he doesn't let you sleep. He's kind of like the Tragic Clown, but worse, because at least the Tragic Clown tries to make you laugh and fails at it. The Night Wraith just wants to see you die, and you will just repeatedly be so exhausted because he won't let you sleep that you'll wake up with yourself because you're too exhausted to go to the toilet. Oh, it's just a revolving door. My cold heart. It's fine. I can't actually do that. And then werewolves. Sensitive topic, I know. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of The Sims 4 werewolves, but that pack, that was good. I enjoyed the pack. In The Sims 2, right, okay, not my favourite, must admit. Also really unfortunate because you become a werewolf in The Sims 2 by the leader of the pack biting you. And the leader of the pack is that like a really sexy like werewolf guy, that like Ali Hazelwood bride kind of thing. No, it's literally a dog with yellow eyes. And if he bites you, babe, that is you every single night. Every night. There's no reprieve. What's fun is it does make you turn more of a jock, just biologically. You have more interest in football, you have more interest in sports and everything like that. In The Sims 3, it gives a cleaner vibe. You're still very hairy, but it's not to the extent that that is. And you can still get bitten, but you can also just make a werewolf strength create sim if you want to. And you don't turn every single night, but you do howl at night. You also live longer than a regular sim as a werewolf, which is great. And you can also fight better because, you know, you're biologically created that way. But you do chew furniture, you do sniff strangers, you do get bossed around by witches in The Sims 3. Would you trade that for it being socially acceptable for you to cock your leg against a lamppost and go for it? And by that I mean weeing, not any other way. Just something to think about. I'll leave you with that. The Sims 4 operates on a separate timeline, as we know, an alternate universe. And in this alternate universe, werewolves aren't werewolves anymore. They are actually a different breed of werewolf where their fur is whatever colour you imagine it to be. Sims can't dye the hair ombre, but your better werewolf can, okay? They've got access to Sally's. They know the balayage techniques. Because of the ability to colour them and the general stance, they did kind of get furry accusations. I do see what they're saying, but I'm not here for any slander of the furry community. They're just people who like to live in costumes, and them costumes can get pretty warm. So I have mad respect for the furry community. Rest in peace, the furry community. You would have loved The Sims 4 werewolves. And rather than follow the moon, these kind of operate on a temperament-based thing, like they will go into rages. And there's also factions. There's the Moonwood Collective, which is like the peace and love hippies, and then the Wild Fangs, which is like the what team? Wild Fangs! Get your snout in the game. They're like a lycanthropy MLM. They're a pyramid scheme, and at the top of the pyramid is Rory, and Rory wants to transform everyone underneath them. Also, vampires are their mortal enemies. Like these two, do not put them in a class together. Do not seat them next to each other at the high school table. Do not do it. They are enemies. They want nothing of the sort with each other. But these werewolves and witches are kind of like, they kind of have a little bond going. But yeah, werewolves and vampires, no. And also, to be honest, witches and vampires, no. Everybody hates the vampires. And to be fair, they do have reasons. Like there was a vampire uprising. And like the vampire uprising, not very good. But the only reason that werewolves exist in SimNation is because the spellcasters got too big for their own boots and tried to get rid of the vampires and overloaded the spells, and then that created the werewolves of SimNation. So that's where that goes. Fairies are unique because we only get them in The Sims 3. Kind of get them in The Sims 1, but we'll see that in a minute. But yeah, we're going to get them in The Sims 3, and they are kind of like tiny, sparkly chaos goblins, which is everything a fairy should be. Never give a fairy a name. Never take food from a fairy. I thought fairies were just pretty little things that look like flowers, and yes, they are, but they also cause chaos. They can dye your hair. They can teleport Sims across the map, which is actually really quite funny. And they can do temporary facial deformities. No wonder they're not a big thing in SimNation. SimNation's probably tried to quell these. But if you are a fairy, you have a natural affinity for plants, which makes sense because you look like them, and you gain skills faster. But you do get swarmed by bees because you look so much like a plant that they want to pollinate you. Mermaids are honestly, they're not my favourite occult. I was never a H2O girly. I didn't want to just add water. The nomadic kelp is a key feature of the plot. And in The Sims 3, mermaids, hidden islands, the kraken, they all went together like jam on toast. They also had scaly legs on land, but a beautiful tail in the water, and they had little shell bra. And I thought, oh, now that is nifty. They live on fish and kelp, and is that Arnie Hammer of them? Or does it not count because it's fish? They are technically fish. I mean, people eat mammals, just not other people, hopefully. Also, naturally, they're very good swimmers, like me. Probably why I don't like the mermaid cult really too much competition, you know. They can also summon other mermaids close to them, and they can also summon sharks, which You want to keep the mermaids on your good side. And then in The Sims 4, they actually have similar powers to The Sims 3, but they are the least fleshed out occult in The Sims 4. They have two forms, like the vampires and the werewolves. And they can also do siren murder songs, which I love that. Kelsey of 100 Baby Challenge fame has just released a book, I've just bought it actually, called Voice of the Ocean, which reminds me of this. Kelsey, if you are watching this by chance, perchance, were you inspired by Sims mermaids? And then we have ghosts. Now, ghosts have been around since The Sims 1, but they were kind of they were there to scare your Sims and cause chaos, as many things in The Sims 1 were. The object of The Sims 1 was not how to survive, it was how to make life harder, basically. So ghosts in The Sims 1, like they would come out at the middle of the night, scare your Sims, and then think, oh God, what a day's work, what a day, and then go back to sleep. And then in The Sims 2, the behaviour was based on the cause of death. So if they died by electrocution, they would electrocute your Sims, potentially. If they drowned, puddles of water everywhere. The ghosts of SimNation, as you can tell from the pictures, are also very petty because they will haunt the thing that killed them too. So if your Sim died by cowplant, they will haunt that cowplant, which honestly feels like hell on earth, because rather than enjoying the sweet, sweet splendours of whatever pearly gate SimNation beholds, you are spending your life looking at your murderer. Go to the light. They could also kill other Sims by scaring them. Anyway, in The Sims 3, the idea of like playable ghosts became a thing, because as much as they are part of SimNation, they don't pay taxes, essentially, in The Sims 1 and The Sims 2. In The Sims 3, they are tax-paying citizens if you revive them post-death at the Science Centre, and then they become real. And then in The Sims 4, POV, this is The Sims 4 when it first released. No ghosts! And then ghosts did eventually come. Originally their colour was dependent on their emotions. Now you can change it to whatever colour. They allow ghosts to be whatever they want it to be. They can possess objects and break things. But then they got more citizen rights around the time of life and death, and they actually have ranks like vampires or werewolves, and you can go up the ranks and get special powers. And you can be a good or evil ghost depending on your actions. So they're quite similar to Sims 2 witches in that way. And then finally, the final major life category is plant sims. Now, did I even know that plant sims existed in The Sims 4? I think I had a brief inkling. Didn't know they existed in The Sims 3 though. I thought they were just a Sims 2 thing. But in The Sims 2, if you use too many pesticides, you'll become a plant sim. And it's permanent. And you need sun and water. You also turn physically green. And I actually think that this might be what inspired The Sims 4. Because if you're a plant sim, you completely skip your teenage years. You just completely skip a life state. You go straight from a child to an adult. So maybe The Sims 4 looked at that and thought, we should skip one or two or twice. Obviously, because they are a plant, they've got deep empathy with other plants and are naturally more skilled towards plants. They can woohoo. They can have a baby by woohoo, but they're a plant, so that they can also self-procreate. And then in The Sims 3, it's not about pesticides, it's about scientific experiments or eating the forbidden fruit. And then in The Sims 4, it's also to do with the forbidden fruit, and it's got like this task before it. I think they updated it, but as you can see, just a sim painted green for 5 days who can talk to plants. I can talk to plants too. They don't talk back to me, but that is all of the major life states in SimNation. And if you're thinking, oh Jessie, what about this one? What about this one? Hold your horses. But wait. There's more. Before we move on to the next section, I wanted to take a minute. My PC is currently having an issue where Fortnite just crashes halfway through a game, and it makes me so angry that I actually can't bear to load Fortnite up at the moment. So instead I thought what I should do is I should do the occults as Fortnite skins. So for Vampire, we've got this one. I don't know her name, but that's that one. For Witch, we've got Ariana Grande in that version of the skin. Something about the glowingness of it, because I did consider that one for Fairy, but as you'll see, Sabrina Carpenter, 5 feet to be exact, is the perfect candidate for our Fairy. For Plant Sim, I've got Bush Ranger, obviously. Literally, how could I ever have anybody else as that? For Ghost, I've got Sabrina Carpenter, but in black and white. And for Werewolf, I've got Sabrina Carpenter, but in a different variation of the skin. And you might be thinking, well, that is not very werewolfy. I've went to the lengths to cut out a werewolf face just to stick on top of it. Oh, that is Sims occults as the Fortnite skins. They're not the only life states that are in SimNation. It's a very eclectic mix. Everybody is welcome. But some have just a minor role in that you can't become them, they're just there. So I thought I'd do an honourable mention section. The Imaginary Friend. Absolutely terrifying. More terrifying than the Night Wraith. Everybody deserves to exist, but that one got me questioning. My lover has got humour. She's a giggle at a funeral. That is my Bornhilda. That is my wife. She cleans. She serves. Bigfoot is also a thing. If you're looking on the trails for him, stop. What you doing? He's right there. And he's got a big... Oh my God, how literal is that name? Bigfoot. Because he leaves big footprints. And there was only one big footprint in the sand. He was carrying me. We've also got, I didn't mention them because I actually don't know if this is just a cosplay thing. Fairy Queen Mara and Vicky Vampirus, whichever way you pronounce it. And I don't know if this is just a cosplay thing because is everybody in Magic Town inherently magical or do they just have a costume? You know, like, is that a bit of face paint or did she come out the womb like that? I'm not sure. And yeah, she's got wings on and she can move pretty fast, but babe, so can I if I've got the right trainers on. Zombies. Now this one is a little bit different than the others because you can actually become a zombie in The Sims 2. It's a temporary thing in The Sims 3, but in The Sims 2, if you are using the resurrectonometron and you do not pay enough, then your lover is coming back as a zombie. And then finally, the tragic clown. Now these two right here, royalty, bow down. That's how I feel about them. If I ever go into, I hope I don't, but if that was ever in my plan, I would want to wake up and see those two right there. And they would hold my hand and they say, you're going to be just fine. I know they would. I know they would. Anyway, that's honourable mentions. Very honourable. The honour is all mine. Now we're getting on to the living, laughing and loving of it all. Staying alive is the primary goal, but also how can you make that life fun? SimNation is all about fun and chaos also, and jobs and bills and taxes. They're just like us. And not all Sims are made the same. Some Sims of SimNation, I mean, this might vary from town to town or game to game. They have personality points. So someone there who is very active is more likely to, that's a football, believe it or not. This impacts how your Sim interacts with the world. So even mundane tasks, someone who doesn't have a very big nice score will not be very social. Some might say antisocial. And whatever random amount of points that you get also makes up your star sign. So this one is a Scorpio. Scorpios apparently are very active. My friend's a Scorpio. I'm going to have to disagree with that one right there. My friend's a lot more playful. So that is how Sims in SimNation get their star sign. It's based on their personality rather than it being based on their birth date. But your personality, yes, it's taught. Yes, it's random. But in The Sims 1, it is also inherited from your parents. So if your parents are a certain type of way, you will be too. Before being a YouTuber happened to me, I was actually planning to become a teacher, which is very difficult to imagine. But I do feel like I am embodying that potential future of mine with this right now. Year 4, I really don't want to have to tell you again, okay? No TikTok during class hours. As we've seen previously, personality points. Throw that out the window. Gone. Sims have become multifaceted creatures. I had to get the projector out for this one because suddenly we have traits. As you can see, there is a lot of them. Don't worry though, because I have categorised these according to me. At the bottom is what I've titled, I wish I knew what you were, because the traits that I don't recognise. Sorry if that offends anybody. If anybody's of that trait dieharder, my personal apologies. To the stocks is ones where I do not care. I don't care if you're a supernatural skeptic. Why is that a dominant part of your personality? I've got time for that. Also commitment issues. No, I'm sorry. I like them to get married fast. Fast and furious, I say. And then we've got Beelzebub might rise for this under specific circumstances, which means that I could potentially see my Sims I've been with these traits. Like maybe I do have an absent-minded daughter. I could. Or maybe I'm playing with Elsa and she really likes the cold. Never bothered her anyway. You know? Or a daredevil. I could have one. And then we've got turn 17 in Poland, which are traits that I love. That means to serve, by the way. Party animal, brave, genius. That's always a good one. Hopeless romantic, great kisser, lucky, mooch. Oh, honestly, rags to riches challenge, a breeze with any of these. Also the unlucky trait, because the unlucky trait, the Grim Reaper, who we know is a spiritual entity in The Sims. If you're unlucky and you die a certain way, he'll be like, that's so unfortunate for you. Get back up, babe. You've got another go, which I think is hilarious. And then how many letters in Caliente? 8. All of these. All of the above. Love them. Handy. My sink always breaks. Neurotic. Been there. Loner. I'm one. Neat. absolutely not me. Wish I was. Like, that is a lifestyle that I aspire to have. I wish I was a naturally neat person, but I am not. However, I can live vicariously through my Sims with this, because if you have the neat trait, you can just click on your house and click clean. And for me, oh, I'm all about taking the easiest path, babe. That's why I'm not a neat sim. In the same vein, we have the Sims 4 traits. Now, the categories for this are simulation lag, meaning I do not care for this one. Finding 20p on the floor. Yeah, it's always a nice surprise if you find 20p on the floor, because it's a lot more than 10p, but it's not as good as finding £1 on the floor. But I also wouldn't say no to it. I just wouldn't necessarily be over the moon about it, but I would be happy. That's what that level is, like that state of confusion right there. Then we've got Plutarch Heavensby, because I just can't make my mind upon you. Flamingo Land, but it's slightly humid, which means like almost perfect, but it's just got that one flaw, which all things do. Not everything can be perfect, apart from, of course, the Care Bears X Universal Monsters collab. Perfection. No notes. And for that one, family oriented and kleptomaniac. I love to steal. I love my Sims just popping out and coming back with a little treat for me as the watcher. A lot of traits I'm not that bothered about though. And you know why? In previous generations, you know how it's like, back in my day, like my mum says, back in my day, we had to walk up that hill to school in snow up to our thighs. And that's how I feel. That Sims from the Old Town era will be like, back in my day, our traits ruled us. Now, yous are ruled by your emotions. Too emotional, this generation. And that's what the Sims 4 generation is. Too emotional. Like this, it doesn't really matter. You've only got room for 3 traits anyway. So, yeah, like, does it impact things a little bit? Yeah, sure, but you don't have unique Sims like you used to. It's the homogeny of the Sims in the alternate universe of the Sims 4. So, in the real universe of the Sims, though, Sims are unique individuals and their personality really impacts their gameplay. But in the Sims 4, it's an alternate universe, so you know what? We don't even need to worry about it. And then we've got aspirations. Starting in The Sims 2, in The Sims 1, everyone was pretty laissez-faire, you know, it is how it is, it be how it be, and I do what I do. In The Sims 2, however, you've got boom, pleasure, family-oriented, actually, remove the oriented, false fact, sorry, it's just family, romance, knowledge, money, and last but not least, Lilith Pleasant's aspiration, surprisingly, popularity. Lilith, babe, I love you, but if that's your aspiration, you're not really going about things the right way. Who might judge? And this is the big focus for your Sims. So they might have a certain personality point, but how does that impact with your Sims' aspirations? How does a neat Sim with the money aspiration, how do they feel about having a messy house because you're making money? Where is the line, you know? How they go about their day-to-days and what fulfills them and what makes them depressed will be impacted by their aspirations. So if you have a family Sim and they get left at the altar, that would ruin them a lot more than if you had a knowledge Sim. If you had a pleasure Sim that was married to his high school sweetheart at like freshly into young adulthood, I mean, maybe they could have a nice life together, do you know what I mean? But he's probably not going to be as fulfilled with him if you put him into like the Eliza Pancakes life. But if you were to put the land grab into the money aspiration, $1 make him holler. With great aspirations come great responsibility. And as much as it can make your Sim live the life they love and love the life they live, it can also ruin their life and you can have aspiration failure. Thankfully, the Sims world does have free mental health services. It doesn't have free healthcare, but the mental health service, it's just one guy and he does come out the sky to come see you, but he does his job and it's free. So, you know, as a proud lover of the NHS, yes. So your Sims can go into aspiration failure and this is what it looks like. This is the grilled cheese one, it's a hidden aspiration. They're really sneaky. And trying to eat the cardboard. So at this point, the doctor does fly down. He does come and say hello and gets you back on track. But life is all about following the life that you love. But then Sims were like, you know what? I decided that I want to do something with my life. But have you ever just had that one goal, that one big goal that you've always wanted to achieve? Well, Sims are just like us. And in SimNation, they might have aspirations, they might have personalities, but they did come up with the idea of having a lifetime want, and this is something that was implemented through the rest of SimNation, actually. I don't know who was the original one to come up with this, but as we can see here from Crystal on Reddit, Etsu's lifetime want is to woohoo with 20 different Sims. They said, listen, if I've got a goal, it's going to be big. And you know what else is going to be big? Sorry, that was inappropriate. One thing that the SimNation doesn't do, consistency. In different cities, in different places, it's all called different things. So Pleasant View is called a lifetime want. Sunset Valley, it's called lifetime wish. Make it make sense. Anyway, in Sunset Valley, Sims don't have an overarching set of beliefs. They have just one big aspiration, golden tongue, golden fingers. So they say. And then in The Sims 4, we went back to this version. So this is their overarching belief system. And then within this, they'll have a goal. And then take family, for example. Family will have different levels and each one will have a goal in that. And then that is stage 1. And then stage 2 will be the same thing. But then some of the later aspirations, they just have 1, 2, 3. And then boom, you've achieved your big goal. The morals change from place to place as well, because in places like Willow Creek, your aspiration, it doesn't say much about the person that you are. Where in Pleasant View or Veronaville, your core set of beliefs rule you as a person, and they are directly related to how well you were doing in life. And then I had to mention relationships. You can have best friends, you can know your co-workers, you can have turn on and turns off. As we know, chemistry is a thing, my least favourite lesson. And then in terms of actual family life, as you will be able to see just from some of my previous videos and what I've based my entire career around, the Sims families are the backbone of the world. And that's not in a nuclear family way. It's in a, you can make up your own family. Your family is whoever you want it to be. And what I love about in The Sims 2, so Pleasant View, Veronaville and Strangetown, whoever you live with is considered your family. Beautiful. As aging became a canonical thing in SimNation, as they unlocked the power to age and to die, they also unlocked the power to give. So Jill Smith, she could leave an inheritance to one of her 2 kids. And then they kind of scrapped that idea. And this is a recent thing, because in the previous years of SimNation, you can't do this. But in the alternate universe of The Sims 4, you can leave an heirloom, which is kind of like an inheritance. But it's, what's it called? When companies like, I need to liquidate all my stock or whatever. Got a cash flow problem. And obviously you've got to take care of your family as well. So yes, you are given the right to have a baby, raise that child, but you also, with that right, you have to actually take care of them. If you don't take care of them, social services will come and they will intervene and take your child away from you. And while this might mean in The Sims 2 that your child gets put in the system and maybe adopted by a family that knows them, loves them, in the other games, no, they actually get deleted. They do not exist in the game. So if you don't take care of your children, they will. And that's a threat. That is the Sims of SimNation and how Sims of SimNation are built. But how SimNation operates is a different story altogether. As we know, Katarina Vanderberg is the leader, so everything good and bad that happens in SimNation, we can blame her for that. Bella Goth's disappearance, Katarina's fault. Bella Goth's reappearance, Katarina's fault. Nina and Dina being allowed Pleasant View visas, Katarina's fault. But society's got to operate. Unfortunately, the reality is that society needs money. The main form of currency in SimNation is simoleons. They're absolutely obsessed with their name. Even the websites end in .sim, which is kind of hilarious actually. There are also different forms of currency. Like when you go to Magic Town, there's magic coins. But also, you know how important your aspirations are to Sims in SimNation, which we've spoke about? The more that they live their life according to the aspirations, the more aspiration points they get. And they can use that points to get objects, get new skills. For 2,000 aspiration points, you can get a strong stomach. Or for 5,000, you can be inappropriate, but in a good way. And that is not me. That is the actual title of it. Inappropriate, but in a good way. To earn simoleons the traditional way, obviously, you've got to get a job. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of it, I want to talk a bit more about the infrastructure. Transport in SimCity is actually very utilitarian. Cars exist in SimNation, and your Sims can have cars. Cars are legal in Pleasant View, Veronaville. Not legal in Willow Creek though. You do not have access to cars in Willow Creek. They have huge gas emission laws, I guess. Even in places like Pleasant View, where driving is legal, it's still not the norm to have your own car and to drive your own car. It's fully expected if you're a Sim, when you get a job, to also expect that job to provide transport from your house, front door, to their place of employment, which is absolutely fantastic. Free work travel, and that mounts up. Despite the fact that they have somehow conquered intergalactic space travel, they're actually not big on trains. Can't relate personally. It really is a car society first and foremost. Somehow in The Sims 4, they've said goodbye to cars, goodbye to intergalactic space travel for the most part, and instead they have just locked the power of teleportation. Don't even expect anything to show up at your door anymore. Why would it show up on your door when you can teleport? Back once again for the presentation. Much like we have Simoleons, the language that they speak in SimNation, shock horror, is Simlish. And it actually does have a really interesting history, like outside of the lore of the games. Simlish as a concept started way back from the games of like SimCity and Sim Golf. And it was difficult because these are real people that you're playing with. And The Sims isn't this game where each character has a certain amount of lines and that line is like easily translatable into different things. No, because it's completely up to you which way your character goes. And what every single option has to be available for every single character. Having to translate it into all the different languages would require too many fluent voice actors, apparently. If you just had the same phrase like, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? It would break your illusion. So not being able to actually understand your Sims goes a long way to suspend your disbelief. Simlish as a language has got lots of different languages mixed in as well as just some random words. Because when it was made, there's no real way to translate it. People could be saying anything to you. Like your imagination fills in the blanks for you. So when Mrs. Crumplebottom has got a purse and she's like, Batamina, you kind of read between the lines of what she's saying to you. The purse does the talking. Whereas if she said, you are really rude, boom, it wouldn't have the same impact. Oh. Hello, sorry, I do have a little example of the class of what Simlish sounds like. This is specifically from the earlier games and when Bella Goth is annoyed. So that's her right there. As times went on, we do actually have a translation of Simlish. Hello is so. Goodbye, dag dag. What's up is hooba nooby. Come here is gerb woofam. Move out of my way is blursh meshalu blursh. I'm hungry is oh Phoebe lay. I think you're hot. Zawoka Ganava. And baby is Nubu. Now, what is interesting is despite the fact that it's a mix of many different languages, Simlish actually has an American accent. So if you feel like your Simlish isn't up to scratch, just try saying the exact same thing in American accent. For example, if I said soul, it wouldn't really translate as Simlish, but if I do the American inflection on it, so, I'm like, Bahami English now. Fluent. That's a little translation guide. But this is what you will hear Sims say most of all, especially if you play the earlier games and you know when there's the plumb bob and go, so. They're saying hello. As for education, SimNation wholeheartedly believes that no child should be left behind. Unless, of course, they miss the school bus, in which case, then not only will they be left behind, but in places like Pleasant View, Veronaville and Strangetown, they'll drop a grade. So you want to make sure that you get that school bus. If you can't get the school bus, of course, you're welcome to take your own bike or car to school or walk. School will probably be over by the time that you get there. There are multiple versions of school as well. It's not a one-size-fits-all category. For example, by default, you'll be attending state school, which was part of military school, the only thing in The Sims 1. And then in The Sims 2, the idea of private school got introduced. Obviously, Alexander Goth is a private school resident. He is well equipped with private school. Yes, he knows it very well. Then in The Sims 3, we have boarding schools. And you can go specialise in something like if you have a particularly artsy kid, or if you've got a kid you don't like, bish bash bosh, send them off to boarding school. 2 birds, 1 stone. If your sim doesn't do very well at all, unfortunately, they will be carted off to military school and they won't like it. And also, in Neighbourhood 1, you'll never see him again. Gone. They'll be on a milk carton. So schooling is mandatory, but university is not. And there are quite a couple of options in terms of universities of SimNation. Ones like SimState, Academy Latour, La Fiesta Tech and all of that. We've got Foxbury, the University of Brightchester, and then we've got Sims University, which I'm guessing is the main one. What is important to know though, more than anything, is that you can woohoo professors in Sims University. That's all above board and all legal. And then in The Sims 4, these are kind of in a rival with each other. You've got Foxbury, who are the crypto nerds, and then you've got University of Brightchester, which is like that main antagonist girl from Legally Blonde who ends up becoming the friend. She would definitely go at that one. The alma mater matters a lot. Sims will bond over where they went to school. And obviously the main point of a university degree is you'll be able to land a better job, better pay. But for the most part, in my opinion, does it really matter? Because by the time that you finish university, which you've already got to that point in your job anyway, but I suppose some people think it's great for gameplay. Me personally, I'm on the shortest amount of term for the most amount of credits. Shaka Bra, Baharmi Nagluch Nar. This is the period of life before you become a full adult and you can do whatever you want. And this really applies to that. This is the world of streaking naked, putting soap in fountains, having really annoying red cup solo parties where you have to individually pick them up one by one. It's all about the how you say experience. But for some people, just having a good experience isn't enough. They need to make it a secret thing. They need to make it so nobody else can have a good experience unless they have been pre-vetted by them and then allowed to exist. Enter secret societies. La Fiesta Tech has got the LFT Society, which stands for La Fiesta Tech, not very original. Académie Le Tour, the European University, has got the Vol-au-Vent Society, hilarious. And SimState University has got the Land Grab Society. Boo! Do I actually have that noise? The Land Grab Society. I didn't click it. The Land Grab Society. Thank you. Land grabs are influential. The Sims 4's also got a secret order, but where with the other ones you get like a hidden place that you can go and meet a cow plant, for example, just one of the many things that you can do. The Sims 4 is all about like little spectry ghosts, and you're like, please, oh please, Spectre, like, please give me a good grade. And it's like, if you just spent this time actually in the library or something, we could already be at that destination. But no, instead, we're cloaked up, praying to sprites. Make it make sense. But I guess this is The Sims and it never makes sense. And it's expensive, obviously. Anybody knows this. I'm in about 60 grand worth of student debt. But scholarships do exist, and you can also take out tuition fee loans in The Sims 4. For Sims University, the scholarships are kind of based on how well you perform academically, which completely makes sense. So if you perform really well at science and medicine, you will get maybe a sub-score of 400 out of 400, and therefore get a higher aptitude score, which means that you could get a scholarship for certain things. The Sims 2, being the completely individualistic specimen that she is, doesn't do anything like that. You might perform well, but yeah, you might get a little bit of money off. But what The Sims 2 really wants to know is your parent a zombie? No. Then why are you applying for the scholarship? There's also, if you can get this super secret pool shot. Welcome to Howay University, babe. Listen, as we will come to find out, like, we are going to do an extra bit on the whole alienness of SimNation, but if you are abducted by aliens, it is a really common thing and you are entitled to compensation. And these universities also do offer that in the form of the extraterrestrial reparations grant, which grants you 1,500 simoleons. And sorry about the whole abduction thing as well. So yeah, I've cut the lights because I just want to say that if you are considering university for your sim, or for your sim's children, or for your sim's grandchildren, or anything of the sort, amazing. And you might be really tempted by that whole scholarship thing. But I do just want to put a bit of a spanner in the works and share what you will have to put up with if you want a scholarship. Actually, if you just want the option, never mind if you want to apply for it or not. If you want the option to even exist, this is what you have to sit through. But wait, there's more. 3, 2, 1. Anytime now. The way every time this happens to me, every single time, I just want to... Once you're out of uni, hopefully you are going to enter the workforce. That's the only way to get simoleons. Apart from if you go all around the towns and everything and dig up stones and then sell crystals, but that's still, I would class that as a job. It's a full-time career. And there's 2 ways that you can get a job. You can either use the newspaper, which isn't actually a thing in the later games or game. That's a newspaper. News. Proof's in the pudding. Or you can use the PC. Now, there is pros and cons to both of these. Newspaper jobs, unfortunately, you only get 3. However, it's free. PC, unfortunately, in terms of money, that's a lot of... Oh, wait, no, that's $1. I meant to do a simoleon. In terms of simoleons, that's a bit to set you back by, but you do get the choice of 5 jobs on this. Now, in the later games, that is not a smartphone, but just imagine that it was. You know what? Look at that. Now, that's smart. In the smartphones, you can just use that to find a job, and every single job is available to you. Or you can load up the map and just go to whichever workplace that you want to work for, walk in and say, hey, I work here now, and they're like, well, do you know what? I've got nothing to dispute that, so I guess you sure do. But then once you're in your job, don't for a second think that there is any relaxing to be had in SimNation, okay? This is a rough, rough world. And when you're in it, just like us, you will be faced with choices. And these choices could lead to your success or demise. Mary Sue right here, she's got something that comes up and she can either click edit or grammar check or ignore and then nothing will happen, but who would want to do that? But depending on the chances of it, either of those options could lead to something good, and also either of those options could lead to something bad. So what chance have you got? None. You might as well just go with what everyone feels right in the moment. You might get fired. You might get £1,000. That is up to Will Wright, whatever he has decided for us, and we should be thankful to him, our Lord. And obviously, as we've discussed earlier with aspirations, this can play a key part in what career they want and also how well they do in their career, because someone who has a fortune or knowledge is probably want to go quite high in the career. Someone who's all about pleasure, probably not that bothered about the corporate 9 to 5, you know? And also, if they're really inspired by something, if they're really skilled, from a child, they might set their hearts on reaching the top of their music career. So it's dependent on a lot of things. And then, even when you think that you've got your career and you're all sorted, just like in real life, boom, midlife crisis or, burnout. And this, just like the military and aliens, that can wage wars on your professional career. But their jobs are much like our jobs. You show up, learn skills, you can do the minimal amount of work if you want, you can do the most amount of work if you want. But you've also got to try and balance life and avoid burnout. Now let's play a fun game of match the sim to their career. For medical, believe it or not, is actually Don Lothario. That's the wrong picture for him. I should have used the Sims 2 picture for him, and I deeply apologise for that one. But yeah, somehow he's in the medical career. Criminal is Nancy Landgrab, which honestly, you know what? Yeah, checks out. I believe it. Business is Nick Altor. And then Secret Agent is obviously Bella Goth in the alternate timeline of The Sims 4, where she never went missing and she became a secret agent instead. Maybe that's what she was doing in The Sims 2. We wouldn't know, because that is the nature of secret agents. Caliente twins may not have a traditional career in terms of this, but they are booked and busy trying to destroy the goth/bachelor line. I'm just going to set the scene. It's 2001. You're on the family PC. The cartoons are on, okay? And you decide to load up The Sims 2. That does not fit in that bag, may I add. And he doesn't stop there. In fact, he can't be stopped. Look at Dina and/or Nina having a breakdown in the background. There's the doctor. Free mental health care. If you're in SimNation anywhere, you're not safe. Don't think that you're safe, even if you've got a burglar alarm, because if you go to the community lot and you see unsavoury charlatan, watch your pockets, babe, because they will be picked. Even in Oasis Landing in the future, you have to look out for burglars who, to be fair, have names like Steel, because they are robbers and they steal from you, and they're also made of metal, so it's kind of funny. But buy an alarm, babe, because you honestly, it'll save you money in the long run. Speaking of, while we are on the topic of crime, SimNation has a very much if you can't beat them, join them type of mentality when it comes to crime. Because something like this, an underground cult where you trap people against their will and make them make nectar for you to make you rich, and they eventually die because you're not feeding them and not paying them proper wages, completely legal. In fact, encouraged. The things put in place, SimNation loves a group to harness this exact thing. Neglecting a child, slap on the wrist, and your kid take it away, but mainly a slap on the wrist. If you don't follow that neighbourhood action plan though, fine. Like a fine, not your fine, a fine. Against the law. But if you are criminally inclined, which a lot of SimNation are, as you can see, there is actually conveniently a workplace for it in every single Sims world. Now that is just so convenient and nice and kind of them. It is always in some unused factory, so keep a lookout if you're scoping places to live in. Probably best not there, probably not safe. And interestingly enough, who owns a lot of businesses? The land grabs. And they have a lot of trickle-down businesses like Shiny Things Incorporated, a cover-up, laundering, and not of the clothing variety. But yeah, it is something that you can actually aim for and develop your skill with. There is the mischief skill, which kind of goes hand in hand, but the mischief skill is more like, haha, I done a hand buzzer on you, where the criminal career is more like, okay, I'm going to become an international smuggler, which is an actual title that you can have. You can really work your way up the ranks, if you know what I mean. And you can also rob Sims. Obviously, you've got the kleptomaniac trait. This will be a lot easier. You can also break into people's homes in The Sims 4. And you might be thinking, oh, my Sim with a level 10 mischief skill has just broken into this home. I'm going to get loads of money from it. Not unless they have the Get Famous vault. They won't get a thing. What they will get is secrets. And does gossip pay? It's not worth breaking into a home over. And if it is, I've got the perfect career for you. But yeah, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So obviously law enforcement exists as a career and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I don't even want to know what the crime rates are in SimCity, but they are incredibly high. There's a version of this for every single world in The Sims 3. But I suppose every single place that you live in has got crime. If you want to do a basement cult, legal. Entrapment, legal. Kidnap, legal. All above board. And also, anything's above board really, because do you get punished? No. The only punishment I've ever really faced is when I downloaded the Superheroes mod, and you have police in that. You also have supervillains like this one here. This is Dr. Dominion. He became self-aware of the plumb bob and then decided to make it everybody else's problem and trapped I think he's done it to multiple women actually, but obviously this is SimNation, so that is completely above board. He's also part of a cult called the Elder Herd, and they're obsessed with cows and everything. I actually think that the worst crime, the worst villain in the entire Sim series, babe, let me turn this projector off to fill you in on this. Babe, it's you. And you can argue against me, but have you ever put a Sim in a 1x1 room and watched them starve to death? Have you ever purposefully removed a pool ladder? Who is orchestrating these underground cults? Babe, start with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. No message could have been any clearer. Welcome to military. Believe it or not, SimNation has a big military presence. Why? Who knows? In the Sims medieval times, it kind of makes sense because you've got different kingdoms trying to like attack each other and gain power and everything. But in the continent of SimNation, babe, what's the point? But because there's no point, there's actually infighting happening, which tends to happen. They're not focused on like child endangerment, child neglect, or anything of that sort. They never are. Instead, the military is waging war on the aliens. It's got a full military task force just designed for that. Like, it is a career that you can follow, but also it's just an ever-present thing, especially if you go to the places of Strangetown and Strangerville. But interestingly enough, alien abduction and alien pregnancy is legal. It's just not very well liked. But aliens themselves, they do have a lot of influence, especially because of the whole Belagoth accusations, even though the aliens are not responsible for that one, even though they are. Sorry, they are. In order to understand what is actually going on, we need to understand the alien society. So the birth queen, it's a matriarchal society, unlike the world that we live in, which is a patriarchal society, as we all know. The birth queens, they are here to lead and to breed. Crucially, not in a Handmaid's Tale way, in more of a I am the queen and I should be absolutely worshipped kind of way. The colony drones basically live to serve the queen. We don't actually know 100% what their jobs are. Tech jobs, blue collar jobs. We're not 100% sure, but they live to serve the matriarch, the birth queen, because that is her name. There's not just one birth queen. That's just her full legal name, birth queen. Forename, birth, surname, queen. Love her. She's not the only one either. There are multiple birth queens and they all have the same name. And it's not birth queen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's birth queen, birth queen, birth queen. Okay, they are equally as important. Pollination technicians, their entire job is to abduct. They seem to be a recent addition to this category of aliens. Previously it was just birth queen and colony drones, but now they are trying to, they are abducting Sims, giving them a little gift in the form of a babby. Pollination technicians also generally don't raise their own children. As you can see from here, pollination technician, Chloe and Lola Singles, he is their dad, but he didn't raise them. He just abducted their father. But he did eventually settle in Strangetown and fell in love with Jill Smith, who is related to their dad in some way, which is like an issue in and of itself, obviously. But he did actually stay and raise these two kids. So pollination technician number 9, as much as I love him, is also giving deadbeat dad energy. And I don't want to admit that, but it kind of is. And the place that they live, Strangetown, it's basically their version of Area 51, which definitely doesn't have aliens if the United States government are watching this. But honestly, when I was a kid, Bermuda Triangle, Area 51, oh, that was my jam. I really thought, I'm going to uncover you one day. Do you know what? In some ways, I did. But in Strangetown, aliens are a lot more normalised. So you'll be walking around Strangetown, you might see pollination technician number 9 with his family. He's in a relationship with Ophelia Nigmos, which is Olive Spector's niece. God rest your soul. And the Curious household as well. In Strangetown, when you load them up, you'll find that Pascal Curious has actually been abducted by aliens. Definitely not pollination technician number 9's fault. And he is pregnant with an alien baby. But how aliens even got into Strangetown to begin with is actually really sad. See, if you go through Strangetown, you will see this crashed alien ship. This is transit admin number 7 spaceship. He wanted to deliver a photo album, but his spaceship crashed, so the photos never even made it. Neither did he. His body, obviously he's an alien who's crash landed there. His body was donated to science. He was shoved in a freezer. SimNation is pretty dark. And to be fair, they do kind of need the military, okay? Because Emperor Zizzle, who is another alien, he does keep trying to take over the world. So in that regard, yes. But leave Johnny Smith alone. Also, Pollination Technician number 9 does have an enemy in the term of Buzz Grunt. I think it's a kind of one-sided relationship and it's kind of homoerotic, as many very masculine things are, and Buzz Grunt is the very definition of that. He's a military man who doesn't know how to love. That's why his wife left him. Call it like I see it. Anyway, he's been in a fist fight with him and lost. They have tensions. Buzz, babe, the call is coming from inside the house. Buzz Grunt's life, his wife has recently left him. His kids are traumatized versus Pollination Technician number 9 Smith. 2 out of 4 kids he's raised and nurtured to be great people. These 2 are great people, but Pollination Technician number 9 has got, he's got nothing to do with that, unfortunately, so I can't use that for my hypothesis. And it actually does get really dark because Buzz ends up imprisoning the Smith family. Apart from him, obviously. He ends up imprisoning these 3 to protect them from the alien dad, which maybe Buzz needs therapy more than he needs a military career or any type of power, because imprisoning people to protect them from a happy life is not actually helping them, I fear. And then you've got Strangerville, which is another mystery desert town. But this was heavy nostalgia bait. Not a very popular pack. I actually think that this could have been a lot more popular if they didn't use Bella Goth to market it and then not show Bella Goth at all. They had marketing like Mother Wears a Red Dress, but the mother turns out to be a giant plant who's turning people into zombies. Stranger Things is one of my most favourite things in the world that I could talk about for like 6 hours without a break, okay? And it's kind of giving Stranger Things energy, but it wasn't marketed as that. The military there trying to defeat the plants, but obviously military aren't very good in SimNation. I mean, they're prominent, but they're not very good. So it ends up being down to whichever sim you play. Now we're going to go over some iconic objects from SimNation because, my lord, this country, it can produce some good uns. First off is the toilet. This is actually the first object that was ever made in The Sims. Not this specific toilet, but this is a toilet from The Sims, so we're just going to go with it. It was the first object that Will Wright made because it was like, toilets are really interesting because you can use them, you can throw up in them, you can flush them, you can clean them. That's a lot of things. And therefore the toilet was born. In the Vibromatic heart bed and also the Love Heart hot tub. I showed my mum this picture yesterday and I said, Mum, I used to play with this when I was a kid, and the Sims used to get in bed naked and I didn't even know what they were doing. The bed was vibrating. It's just left an imprint on me. That's my Jacob Black right there. These are also iconic because you could make a baby this way. Previously, it was just kissy, 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 kissy. This introduced the idea of woohoo, but back then it was called play in bed. Back in my day, this scooter opened up the world. Bear in mind when this released, outside of your home lot, it was a square and outside of it was just grey. This scooter meant that you could go places without a loading screen. Just had a video of your scooter going and like realistically looking back, that was the loading screen. It felt like you were 12-year-old and your mum had given you some bus fare and just said, go ahead, babe. That's how it felt to me. And I never got to play it. I don't know why, because I had a console. Lover. And still am of the GameCube. That is my console right there. But I just never had Busting Out. The first time I played Busting Out was last year for the video. I watched my cousin play it and I was just blown away. And then we've got the necessities, like the burglar alarm, as we've seen, you need one of them. Smoke alarm, need one. And the house phone, because now it's all in your pocket. But back then, if your Sims didn't have a house phone, they weren't connected to the outside world. And yes, did you get prank calls sometimes? Yeah. You had no way of knowing who was ringing you. Now you get a fancy pop-up with the Sim's name. Back then, oh, you had no idea. Could be someone that you'd spoke to one time asking to come over. Now you know. Now you can just click ignore. But if you did accept a random call, yes, there was a chance that you were going to be threatened with death, but also you could have the chance to win a random mystery prize. I was playing as Bella Goth the other day, answered the phone, and someone said, and I quote, your personal fan club, which is exactly the type of phone call I would expect Bella Goth to receive, has erected a fountain in your likeness. You're officially designated a living legend. Collect the 550 simoleons thrown into the fountain by adoring fans. Now, if that ain't Bella, I don't know what is. We spoke recently about how there's more than one form of currency in SimNation. So there's obviously simoleons, but you can use your aspiration points for things. And some of my favourite objects come from those. We've got the Pasteur's Homogeneous Smart Milk. This, if you're in a good mood, like if your aspiration's doing well and you give your toddler this, oh, they can potty train in 1.5 goes. It's brilliant. If they're in a bad mood though, just don't do it. Just don't even risk it. Dr. Vu's automated cosmetic surgeon with the genetic chances in The Sims 2. Oof. I mean, don't get me wrong. With the whole dominant and recessive genes, The Sims 2's genetic system was fantastic ahead of its time. But did those genes go together well? No, absolutely not. For me, this was unnecessary in any Sims home. And then also the money tree. It doesn't actually give you that much, but when you've got no money, it gives you a lot. But again, this one is an aspiration reward. That one's a career reward. This one's an aspiration. So don't use this if you're in a bad mood. Consult your aspiration meter before use. And then finally, Olive Spector's garden chair. Brilliant, stunning, perfect place, visionary. Vision is scary. Now I have compiled a selection of iconic moments. I would like the class to be quiet, please. That's why you sit and watch this. Thank you. I hope it fills you with dread. That was the Sims 1 burglar. Next up, the repo man. If you didn't pay your bills, your water wouldn't be shut off, babe. A man would come round to your house and steal your things back from you. He would repossess you. He's even got his own van. I wonder if he designed that logo. And he comes with a gun. And that gun takes your most prized objects. I mean, to be fair, he only stole a sink there, as we can see in Exhibit A. But he could steal a hot tub, you know, he could put Dina and / Nina into aspiration failure. He's got that power. Right, context alert. This is a baby in The Sims 1. When it's upset, it has like an orange halo around it. And I used to think that meant that the baby was happy. So I actually had my baby taken away from me when I thought I was doing right by it.
This is obviously not live footage of that event because I was a child. This is a reenactment. A dramatic one.
I do feel like every single person ever in the world that has ever played The Sims 1 has tried to build a box around her right there and trap her in that section. And I did actually try that recently because I couldn't remember if it worked or not. It didn't work. She just teleports out of it. As we know, teleportation is something that does happen. This is a very well-known one because I've never felt mortification like I felt when this played in front of somebody else.
Some of these.
Wait!
Ha ha!
They could have kept that one to themselves. The music of The Sims, I will say, is just as important and influential as the actual gameplay. And the loading screen tunes, you will not forget them. They are the epitome of Alexa, play Feel Good Tune Volume 7, please. Wait, no, I think she heard me. Alexa, stop. She's also, the titles of it are also really clever because when you're in the map view, it's called Cartographer's Symphony. They love a little pun. Or if you're in build mode, it's Some Assembly Required. It's really funny. But yes, the music of the loading screen is exceptionally powerful. Tune. 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 You can also listen to music for free through the earbuds in your inventory. But your Sims can also actually engage in music. So as much as you might enjoy the music that happens in the Sims franchise, they enjoy it too. Monetize it with careers. You can just do it for fun. You can go clubbing and listen to music. And also, if you just turn the radio on, you can listen to huge artists like Paramore, Black Eyed Peas. They've got a good amount. Anyway, this is a karaoke example. An example of singing. She's not very good though. And people will respond to you, for better, for worse, so be prepared. Lore is told through the actual songs of The Sims, much like lore was told through the books of The Sims 4, it's also told through this. First of all, canonically, there's the 10th ballad of Henry IX, which assumes that that's their version of Henry VIII, because Henry VIII also used to make his own ballads.
I forgot to mention it, but the reason that I found that so funny was because SimNation used to be a religious society and then became very secular. But Henry VIII made everything less Catholic, more Protestant, And Henry IX just took things one step further and thought, nah, just do away with it all. Get it all done. That's my theory.
And then there's also a song on piano called For Bella, which is beautiful. And this is it. And obviously I made Cassandra play it because that was very fitting. Well done, Cassandra. That was absolutely beautiful, darling. There are also songs in Simlish. Now, I don't want to get copyrighted, so I've put the lyrics up there. But to kind of immerse you in the world of it, like, honestly, no, it's fine. Like, I will actually sing it for you. No, like, honestly, guys, like, I will do this for you. It's completely fine. Don't worry about it. I mean, she's up in space right now, but just pretend she's not. Last Ruby noob, Yarby dancel dable dupes. I'm a dookie mimi shoob, CP kissy upper goob. Just so you know, it is really hot in the UK right now and my windows are open so my neighbours are hearing this. My personal favourite. Gimby a snecka eye, I need big gimby soony step, my femba emba basu gibby, high as insta emba snip. This will be my sister's favourite, I bet. It's Gleben Hosba he, so tigu albuwa, haba, Gleben Hosba, lopanati ma fools doof. There you go. You can take that home with you. Sing it to your loved ones if you want. Have taught you the tune. Now play Claire de Lune. TV is also a huge thing in SimNation. And time travel is canon, which is interesting because if you put the TV on in The Sims 3, you will see The Sims 2. And if you put the TV on The Sims 4, you will see The Sims 3. Even though The Sims 3 is before The Sims 2. It's all very confusing and it's all interlinked and it's all in a timeline apart from when it's not and not even when it's alternate, but that's also a whole nother separate thing. But TVs, and they reference other things. Like we have got in the child category, the Freezer Bunny. Even though in The Sims 2, he shows up when your social need is incredibly low and basically sorts you out for free. Again, free mental health care. He's also, in his spare time, a children's TV show presenter. Love that. And it also teaches Sims skills. This is called the Halls of History channel, and it's actually a reference to SimCity societies because you could have different societies in there. And this one is an authoritarian one. So they're forcing it like really Victorian industrial regime-esque tenements. It's got high sickness, high fires, low happiness, but huge profit margins. And then also it's got Isabella Monti on a cooking show. This is a static TV and it flashes with pictures of poor old Edith, that ghost that we met earlier. Movie Hangout as well has plumb bob pickers where they go through different places. This is in Twinbrook and it's all about Stephen and Checo and they buy objects and try and sell them, see how much they picked it for and how much the profit was. Oh my God, that one squeaky bit of floor is the one bit that I need to stand on. So you can watch TV, but you can also watch movies, and movies are a huge part of any Sim's life. They can actually go to the movies in certain places and watch it themselves. You've got movie stars like Judith Ward. We've got movies like House with No Doors, which is a reference to how you can build a house with no doors in The Sims and then trap your Sims in it. Somber is the llama. They love a llama in the Sims series. We've also got Explosions 2, Bigger, Better, Louder, which I think is a reference to Too Fast, Too Furious. Posters of movies in The Sims 4 reference Sims. Like that is obviously Vladislav Stroud in a Nosferatu role. He gets about that man, honestly. That's Bob Pancakes. Somehow in between being the most boring house husband ever, he decided to star in a film about pancakes. This is King Kong, and then this is The Mummy. So honestly, their film industry, booming. You can also star in your own films. It is an accessible career for everybody, which is great. Games as well are another huge thing. And they, like TV show, also reference different things within the Sim series. The one thing about SimNation, it loves anything that refers to itself. Here, we've got My Sims, SimCity here, we've got Sims 1 here, and then this is My Sims Racing. And they're just games that your Sims can play. My niece is huge for Pokemon, and this is the Sims answer to Pokemon. This is Void Critters. Air, Fire, Water, and Void. Something to do with Pokemon. And you can battle them, and you can collect them in cards. Listen, all over my head. Over my head. Never been into Pokemon. I'm so sorry. There's merch for Void Critters as well, which I actually really, really like. I love it when The Sims does merch within the game. So this is actually a poster that you can put up in the game, but there's also little decals as well, which I think is beautiful. And Sims can also entertain themselves. This is done the best, in my opinion, in The Sims 2. They really took a lot of time to flesh this out. So here are some examples which I will show you. Obviously you can see he's swinging on a swing and she's on a roundabout there.
Croc, croc, you moly, tubin, tubin. What's so?
I've got some general playground equipment there, but there are also things like the tree house, which is not at all times appropriate for children, by the way. And then books. I do already have a 3-hour-long video going into this really deeply, so I'm not going to go into it too deeply here. As I've put there, I do have a 3-hour video on this exact subject, and this has a lot of references from our world as well. Entertainment is huge in SimNation. Duskglow is their answer to Twilight. But what the Sims team do really well is write in descriptions for things that don't matter, but they do matter to me. Food in SimNation, it's not the most exciting, but it is kind of important because if they don't eat, they will die. Well, they actually can live with it and should live with it. Low-skilled Sims can survive on things. There are takeaway options like pizza, Chinese takeaway, there's also Zoomer's delivery, and birthday cakes as well, but these were previously buyable, where in The Sims 4 you have to cook them yourself. I actually don't know which I prefer. I don't know if I prefer buying them straight from build mode or if I prefer being able to bake whatever cake that you want. And also, Bella Goth appears on a milk carton in The Sims 2. As you can see, I've also got her right here. There she is, Your Honour. She's been with me the whole time. They say the way to people's hearts is through their stomach. And that is certainly the case for BJ, the headmaster. Because to get into private school, you should prepare a tasty dinner and show BJ a good time. Let's hope the food can do that. And there are many ways to cook food. In The Sims 2 and The Sims 3, you can even cook it yourself. This is from Tintaverse. I know that was blocking that out up there. Obviously, there's the ridiculous, obnoxiously sized cupcake machine, which is a shame. I mean, we do have better ways to cook cupcakes now. For some reason, SimNation have managed to find this thing where everything in your fridge magically restocks itself. Don't know how it does it, but it does it. In the world of The Sims 2, that didn't happen. You had to replenish your stock. I loved it. If you used your food, you had a certain amount. Say that's full, obviously. That's not full, but like pretend it is. And then you deplete it by that much. You can get a delivery guy. There is like an actual delivery service for this. And he has his own van and he comes with a basket. But that's an actual supermarket right there. Like you can walk around a shop and fill your basket up. As much as food is love and food is life, food is also death. And sometimes food is just food. We've got a meat wall. Just leave that one there. If you don't have a high cooking skill, you will start a fire and you will die. If you have a high cooking skill and you try to do something adventurous, you will start a fire and you will die. If you see a cow plant hybrid and it's offering you a piece of birthday cake, do not eat it, you will die. If you manage to make some poor quality pufferfish nigiri, do not eat it, you will die. Do not eat food because you will eat it and die. And food is so iconic in SimNation that someone actually published the unofficial Sims cookbook where you can bake this is not sponsored, by the way, and it covers a whole bunch of the food because there's so many iconic foods in the Sims franchise. It's not the only one to have covered that. Little Simsy made some Katy Perry cupcakes, some of these, and the chocolate birthday cake. And Steffo Sims made the gummy bear pancakes. This is the result of that. We also have some famous chefs. If you didn't know, we are in front of royalty right here. Isabella Monti, famous chef. Chef Gino Delicioso from the My Sim series, and Elia Cruz, who is a celebrity chef. Sims crave animal companionships. There actually is a huge amount of animals in SimNation. Cats, dogs, and horses being the main. You can customize them to be who you want to be, babe, because this is a pig, but it's actually a dog. And they also have their own unique personalities. You can also go out and get jobs. Also unicorns, but do not get it twisted. That is fake. I'm telling you right now, that's just a horse with a horn on its head. This is the real unicorn, the Sims 3 unicorn. Unicorns you can come across in the wild as well if you go on map view. Unicorns might just be like trotting about and you can go and greet them and stuff. But if you're evil, nay, you cannot befriend them. They do not want to associate with evil. Good vibes only and everything. But they can bless Sims and plants, which is nice of them. So sweet. And then, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, the minor animals, like the sheep, the hen, hay hens if you will, hamsters, rodents. You got to be careful with these ones because these can also kill you. So many things in SimNation can kill you, okay? You're never safe. Tragic clownfish. And then also, The Sims 4 has a huge frog business. They have got an influx of frogs. And one time, I don't know if I've ever told this story, but I feel like I have, when I was at university and I lived in a house, which is where most people live. I was sat in my living room and I just saw something on the corner of my eye and it was a frog and it got in my living room and it just hopped over. How bizarre. I didn't live near water. I don't know where frogs live, to be honest. Rodents can also go to space, so there's that. Now for religion, right? Okay, obviously we all worship and believe in Bella Goth. She is absolutely, she is my lord, you know what I mean? We're trying to elect a new pope. I got one right there. But SimNation actually has Very little formal religion. It has more of an abandon all hope, ye who enter here type vibe. Things like holidays, they're like pagan inspired, but Sims are pretty secular. When Sims die, they drop the plumb bob, so that's like the separation of the body and the soul. And they also believe in a lot of spirituality type things. Their wishes can be granted, they can communicate with the spirits. There's no overarching god, which I actually quite like. So there's no formal deity. Obviously, I believe in Belagoth supremacy. In the times of the Sims medieval, they had two religions, and it was Jacobin is strict and shame-based and believes you should always repent for your sins, and then the Peterans were loving and generous. And there is a reference to a god called the Watcher. The Watcher is a divine entity that Sims follow, and the Selvadradian law references the Watcher. The Watcher is omnipotent and also has eternal memory, knows everything. The glyphs from the Selvadradian law show the Watcher multiplying from 1 to 10 to 1,000 Watchers, which is a metaphor, I think, for how the Sims has ended up with people making the Sims, it being shipped off, and then the Sims growing. So essentially, you are the Watcher. When Sims die, Grimm takes the Sim to the sun, and they use that energy to fuel the creation of new Sims. So Sims are made of sunshine, that's beautiful. And then also there are cults like the Kind Society who worship the cow Beelzebub, not Beelzebub as I wrongly assumed. Right. Most things have a point, do you know what I mean? You don't just go from 0 to 100. There's always like steps to get somewhere, and for you to be like, you know what, I can kind of see how they got from that point and then got manipulated into that and joined the cult. But with this one, it's like, babe, you just want to raise a cow so you can all eat grass. Do you even like grass? Have you touched it recently? They want to turn the world into cows. I mean, to be fair, the team would be having a good time there, so thank God they don't have organised religion. I'd hate to see what they do with that. Obviously, prior to expansion packs being released, you couldn't actually leave your house. Having a house party or being entertained at home or finding ways to entertain yourself, it became central to the culture of SimNation. I think that says Raw Sims really, that thumbnail I saw and I was like, oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. You can also do things like slumber parties, celebrity meet and greets as well, which I didn't know that celebrity meet and greets were a thing. Didn't know that. Sims age now, so you are allowed a birthday and you're allowed to grow up. Birthday cakes have become a huge thing of that, and don't you dare forget about a birthday, okay? Because your Sim will never let you forget that you forgot about their birthday. And also, if you have a bad party, that is like very shameful in SimNation. You'll be thanked for a great party. You will be shamed and shunned for a bad one. There's also festivities like weddings and funerals. And for proms too, you can actively go to prom in The Sims 4, but in The Sims 3 they were in a rabbit hole. And then the seasonal activities, like I said, they really follow pagan traditions. So Valentine's Day becomes Love Day. Labor Day, which is where Alison De Laurentiis went missing, which is also where Belagoth went missing, becomes Leisure Day. Halloween becomes Spooky Day. Christmas becomes Winterfest, and New Year's Eve becomes New Year's Eve. They just kept the same for that one. And you can also create custom holidays in The Sims 4, so you can have like just a family tradition, but these are the overarching traditions that happen in SimNation. When it's spring and it's Love Day, you can have a little kiss at the kissing booth. You can be romantic, send flowers to your partner. That also kind of joins on with our idea of Easter, so you can go pick eggs. Leisure Day, there's actually not that much to it. I want to have a pool party, but if you don't have a pool, what are you going to do, babe? Autumn is magical. SimNation does autumn beautifully. This is the fall festival. Pie eating contests, haunted house. It's even got a witch in there that tries to tuck herself in your back pocket and come home with you. Hay bales. You can pick your own pumpkins and then you can carve your own pumpkins. Oh, I just love it. And Sims also live for dressing up, okay? They love the chance at a costume bash. So they will take the chance to dress up at trick-or-treating very seriously. And also decorating. They love a little decoration here and there. And then for winter, we have Snowflake Day / Winterfest. Again, consistency is not a thing in SimNation. It varies from region to region. Sunset Valley is Snowflake Day, but somewhere like Willow Creek is Winterfest. In somewhere like Pleasant View though, or in Old Town, you don't even need to wait for it to be Winterfest or Snowflake Day. If you put that tree up, babe, and you make Santa some cookies, you best believe he's slipping down your chimney. That guy right there, oh, he's coming down. He's coming. In Winterfest, you get Father Winter, who, yes, he is generous because he gives you presents. Do you know what else he gives you? A lot of money if you romance him. Consider him for a baby daddy. It would work really well, and you'd be better off for it. They also like to sing around this time. They have their own version of Auld Lang Syne, and they make resolutions too. And then when it snows, they like to make snowmen based on actual things in The Sims, so you can get a Grim Reaper snowman. you can get a tragic clown snowman. They just love competition. If there's a chance for competition, Sims will do it. All things must come to an end, like this video will be in about 10 minutes time. But Sims also come to an end. They can also die. We've covered it a little bit, but now we're going to get into the nitty, the gritty of it. There are tons of ways to die in The Sims. A lot of them incredibly ridiculous. Some in self-inflicted, some not. Like if you remove that pool ladder, that's 100% guaranteed to kill them. But sometimes a fire just starts, and if your sim just happens to get in the way, then you can't be proven guilty. You can even hand pick your destruction. If you do cheats, the testing cheats on, and then do Rodney's death creator in The Sims 2, you can, there's every single death imaginable on there. One of the most horrifying ways to die. And yes, I'm gonna get the projector back out because I recorded this. This is, in my opinion, the most horrific death in SimNation, and it's death by flies. If you don't tidy that plate up, babe, this is what will happen to you. That was a swarm of flies. They got him good. Even if you play nice, accidents can happen. Like asteroids can attack a school, pull a Murphy bed down the wrong way one time and you're gone. And sometimes you do just die of old age in The Sims. Hopefully you can get to that point and you don't die from having too much emotion. Have you ever had the thing where it's like, this emotion has never killed me. This emotion has never killed me. That's a reassuring thing you say to yourself. Doesn't apply in SimNation, okay? Feel too much of one thing, it'll kill you. But if you do get lucky enough to make old age, this is what happens if you die without completing your aspiration, which we spoke about at the start. You literally try and fight death for more time. And then this is what happens if your sim follows their aspiration and lives up to what they wanted. It's quite beautiful, actually. A little pina colada and a suitcase to go. And they get their own special grave. It's even a good little grave. Aww. But The Sims do mourn really deeply. Like this actually had to be toned down in a patch because you'd meet someone one time and then they'd be like, oh, I'm just really caught up about it. I just didn't expect to be. But you can go and visit them and commemorate them in a graveyard because it's not just the goths that have a graveyard. There are public graveyards and they do have a lot of lore in them. Like right there, that is Sonny the Tragic Clown. These are the waters of Ravenwood in which if you bathe yourself, you can be reborn, which sounds especially culty, and I guess maybe it is. The end is not the end, as all of Spectre knows, you know? The Grim Reaper playing a saxophone because that is signifying the end of this video. Thank you all very, very much for watching the Culture of The Sims video. I had so much fun making this. I was so fascinated by everything that I learned. Thank you all for your patience again as I got my operation. I am doing well though, so do not worry about me. Thank you to Midas Merch for sponsoring this video. Thank you all for watching it, and let me know what videos you want to see. I have lots of plans, but I'm intrigued. So thank you all, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Midas Merch, for sponsoring the video. And remember, you can download Midas Merch for free with the link in the description or the QR code on screen.